Welcome, everyone, to the Win Now podcast, hosted by Deborah Byrd, founder and CEO of Plug and Play SM.
I am so excited for today's show, so let's go.
And then myself, Todd Bookspan, founder of Win by Noon. I don't think you can ever stop prospecting. I feel like you always have to be prospecting, and I think that's the thing that people are most scared of, right? They're scared of going out in public and meeting people face to face, or we talk about a lot on this, the whole idea of put yourself in the path of opportunity.
You need to attend quality conversations with new potential referral partners a day, which you then need a follow-up plan that within a week you're following up with them.
Welcome to another episode of the Win Now podcast. I am so excited to talk about the 3 mistakes. Now, you can't be excited about mistakes, but these are the mistakes that are costing you as a salesperson money. And I'm Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon. And as always, I'm joined by none other than Deborah Byrd, the co-founder of Plug and Play SM.
If you guys could go to YouTube, if you're listening to this, you need to go to YouTube and watch the dance that Todd just tried to do while he did it super high pitched.
Yeah, listen, I'm enthusiastic today. I'm very excited actually for this conversation. I feel that we all could do better. That's always where it comes down to in every area of life, but especially as salespeople. And so I love the fact that you've come up with 3 ideas in order of how people are losing the most money. And so let's just start off with that. What's mistake number 1?
Not having a system or strategy for prospecting or acquisition, like referral or partner-based acquisition. So number 1 is acquisition, which could be called prospecting.
I think that's it. I think that the average person who's in sales forgets that truly. I think that's the number 1 job of salespeople all the time. And I don't think you can ever stop prospecting. I feel like you always have to be prospecting. And I think that's the thing that people are most scared of, right? They're scared of going out in public and meeting people face to face, or we talk about a lot on this, the whole idea of put yourself in the path of opportunity, show up at an event where you may meet some people. And then people are just scared to pick up the phone and even call clients who they've served in the past who actually knew them and liked them, but they haven't talked to them in a couple of years and they're scared of that. And then I also think you have the fact that people do know people who might refer them transactions that they just are scared to pick up the phone and call to. That could be, your sibling, that could be a friend that or a play group. What other groups am I missing? What else would you think about?
What was interesting is as I was listening to a podcast that kind of danced around this topic, and it made me think about the number of loan officers that we get to serve who tend to go hot and heavy with prospecting when they first start out. But then there's this, and I don't know if it's an illusion or if this is what used to always work until you then have historical low interest rates. But there comes a point where they think they can stop prospecting because now they have enough business coming in because maybe they have the 5 deep partnerships and then the onesie twosies that are coming that they tend to let off the gas of prospecting. So I'd love your insight just from doing this since the dinosaurs were here, Todd.
Yep, 25 years ago, the dinosaurs were here. But I saw this even my 10 previous years of that when I was in the bicycle business, that again, people are scared to have conversations. And that's why I think you always have to have your foot on the gas. There's a real estate agent. I'm totally forgetting his name, so someone maybe can comment down below. He is a newer agent. He's in the Lake Havasu, Arizona market, and he's mid-year 2026. He's already closed over 100 transactions, him and an assistant, and he's got a commitment of a standard of circle prospecting. So those of you who don't know what circle prospecting is, as a real estate agent, he's got a listing. It's 123 Main Street, and then he gets the title company to give him, or a data company to give him, all of the called 100 houses, 200 houses, 300 houses within half a mile of all their data. And he just calls all those people and gives the script of, hey, I've got an open house, come on by. They've got some type of prospecting script. I probably could have come up with something better on the fly than that. But ultimately, he's calling those people. He's committed with a standard of 20 quality conversations a day, meaning he talks to 20 people. And as a result, he's got 50 transactions in escrow, and he'll make $2 million gross commission this year because he's got this commitment to actually working hard. And so I think it's this whole idea that most people in the business, I think, have the curse of knowledge, where when it was easier, and so we think it's going to continue to be easier, and we don't want to work that hard. And myself included, right? My prospecting muscles have atrophied since loans were falling out of the sky during COVID. And now we have this opportunity to really got to put on that beginner's mindset, I think, when it comes to prospecting, and say, okay, if I was brand new and I got into blank business today, whether you're a plumber, whether you're an insurance agent, whether you're a real estate agent, loan officer, whoever that is, what would I need to do to get business? And you have to do those things.
That's good. The only thing I would add is he said you need to attend quality conversations with new potential referral partners a day, which then you then need a follow-up plan that within a week you're following up with them, which leads us to mistake number 2, which is follow-up. So most of the time, in fact, the leverage to the acquisition piece is the follow-up, that if you don't have the follow-up in place, then what's the point of even having the client or the partner acquisition?
So there's 2 types of follow-up we're talking about then. We are talking about true lead follow-up. You get the lead and what are you actually doing to follow up? Number 1. And then number 2, when you're meeting a partner, how do you incubate that relationship? Because I can tell you that the biggest relationships that I was able to get for my mortgage team took 2 to 3.5 years. Now, every once in a while, people tell this story how they lucked into some crazy relationship they just fell into when they're brand new, or maybe on the first month they met them. But that's not the normal. The normal is you have to show up consistently over time, and then eventually you're given an at bat, and then you have to crush that at bat, and then that doesn't guarantee you're going to get that referral after that. It's kind of weird. So there's a thing in the mortgage business called MMI, where it's a data company where we can look up loan officers, and it shows from a loan officer, it shows where their business comes from. And I was working on a project for somebody yesterday, and I was going down this rabbit hole, and I looked up about half a dozen loan officers. And in MMI, I haven't looked at it in a long time, but now it's got this thing where it's used to give you relationships of who you closed with that were buyer's agents in the last 12 months, but it looks like now it's defaulting to like a lifetime. And what was really interesting to me was that the majority of the loan officers that I looked up, their lifetime transactions, the person that was at the top of the list, they hadn't actually closed a transaction with them in a year or 2 years or 3 years. And so I thought that was really interesting when it comes to follow-up. When it comes to follow-up, it means they lost those relationships, right? And so I just bring that up, and then let's circle back then. Let's talk about what does good client lead follow-up look like? And then what does good relationship prospecting look like, since I said that these relationships took me 2, 3+ years to ferret out?
I think it comes back to having a detailed plan and strategy that is consistent, but also with real value. So value is kind of subjective. It is really dependent on, is this a first-time home buying lead? Is this a repeat and referral lead that you have? Is this new partner? Is it like a warm? Have y'all already met? Is this brand new where you haven't had a meeting yet? But I would say the other item, so following up consistently, making sure that it's actually of value, and then with an attitude of care so that your level to connect like human to human and convert is also there. When it feels like it's just a chore, and this is where sometimes too much automation, or I hate to say it, AI assistance, and we were talking about this before we went live, this is where you can sometimes lose the at bat and strike out because the level of care or just connection was missing. So I think you have to have a plan, and it goes back to the ideal week, which we had done a previous recording on. And if you need to theme the days, then theme your days. But there's different types of follow-up depending on, is this someone who was just shopping at open houses and they're not really ready yet, they just wanted some general information? Is it someone who is working on their credit, and so it's 30 days from now you're going to check back in? I think just knowing that you have a system that you can then document when the next follow-up should always be. And before you hang up the phone, you make sure it's clear that this is when you're going to follow up, so you're never interrupting someone.
So you said something really smart. I'm going to interrupt you. You said documented system. Number 1 is most people don't have a documented system. I think a documented system is a unique value proposition, and it would help me when I sit down with a partner, potential partner. I say, hey, what's your current partner's documented lead follow-up? And they're going to go, what are you talking about? I've never had someone know what their partner's documented. So my team has a 14 by 14 follow-up system where we follow up 14 times over 14 days. And that's what we're committed to doing. So you mentioned the ideal week, right? Unless you've got time blocked every day to actually do those things first, proactively, before you react to everything else, you're not going to do it consistently, number 1. And then number 2, what is your written process? Because I think you're right that you do have to tailor it to the type of lead. But I think more importantly than that, you just actually have to have a system to follow up and then tailor it. But so I think it's just from a brass tacks perspective is, am I going to call today? Am I going to leave a voicemail? Not leave a voicemail. I'm going to follow up with a text. Did I get this also an email address? Am I also going to email the person? And then, oh, by the way, I'm going to update the person who referred me it so they know that I'm actually working their lead. And so one of the things that I found really that's been a shortcut lately is have your referral partners introduce you via text to the lead. You've got a three-way text going with the lead. And then as you're following up the lead, hey, I just left you a voicemail. You actually then you leave them a voicemail. They hear your voice. That's your tailoring. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited you're a first-time home buyer. And then you're like, call 14. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel like a stalker. I can't believe you haven't picked up the phone and called me back yet. But don't worry now. I'm gonna stop bugging you. I would use like strip line, which is a whole nother conversation. But bottom line is this. So if I'm like, hey, I just left you a voicemail, I'm a total stalker, and I leave it in that three-way text, I'm also updating the referral source at the same time.
I'm curious on the 14 days. Why do you stop at 14? Do they then go into like
Well,
a
after that,
long-term nurture?
after that, they go to long-term nurture.
Oh,
Then I'm
okay.
not going to call them for another week, and then
Yeah.
I'm going to go another week for a month. I'll keep calling, but it's really the bottom line is if a real estate agent gets a lead, my belief is that that lead is hot and heavy today, and then it's the further I get away from when they actually got excited enough from the realtor to actually say I'll talk to a loan officer. The further I get away from that, then the less likely they are to actually still be motivated. So I'm trying to get them going while the going's good, the quicker the possible. But I'm going to be foot on the gas for the first 2 weeks, and then after that, it's going to go off to a long-term thing. And then at some point, maybe in the future, let's commit that we'll do something on AI because I can say how I've got AI, what it built me. I've got an intake form, and then it updates the next call date. I've got to go in there and update that myself, but it sorts every morning at 6 a.m. by next call date. So I can go in there and be super proactive with calling my leads because my AI is actually helping me sort through the call list so that I can make sure I'm efficient.
Okay, so can I put you on the spot?
Yeah, not if it's about the thing I just told you I'm going to talk about on a
No.
future call, but
So your 14 by 14 follow-up plan with clients, do you have something similar that detailed for partner acquisition?
I don't. But I used to. Again,
Mhm.
it's not something I've been laser focused on, but I probably should. I think it's if you remember in the ideal week, Thursday is partner update day. So I'm normally going to be putting a partner on the list. I'm going to be calling those people and going after them. But I think part of that is just what is the value that you're adding going forward. I started my 2 minutes with Todd recordings again. I record a quick 2 minute video. It's consumer focused. And then I'm sending that out. And so that's like a touch point to those people. I'm just sending it to them and they may watch it. They may not watch it. Who really cares? They certainly delete it. But as Gary Keller said on the 33 touch, when they get my postcard, they see my face as they're throwing me in the trash. And so I think that's got to be a piece of it is how are you going to add value that way? You got to call them, right? You got to hear your voice. Oh my gosh, Deb, I can't believe you're still not answering my phone call. For me, it's sarcasm and it's like, hey, I know I'm being a pain in your butt. And so I'm gonna lead that. But if you've got a schedule for that, if I was going specifically today after an agent, I would write something out to be part of my Thursday partner call day. And I would be thinking about what am I going to send them? How am I doing stuff? I'd probably throw in a video every month or two, just quick video one-on-one. Hey, hey, I'm not taking a walk. I was thinking about the fact that you still haven't called me back. I can't believe it. I'd probably be like, hey, just real quick. I just thought of you because I heard this story about somebody having success doing something. So I'd be looking for things that I think the person might be interested based on the fact that I've learned from you to stalk people on social media. So I'd be like, oh, so awesome. Your kid's playing soccer. I can't believe the U.S. lost in the World Cup last night. Those kinds of things I'd be throwing in there just to make it more personal to them. But I think there's a huge opportunity with that. It reminds me of Brian Manning out of Colorado.
Oh, I haven't
If
heard
you
that name in a
remember,
while.
we haven't talked about Brian in a while, but Brian used to he says he still does it. So maybe we'll bring him on and re-interview him, but he would call 100 to 200 agents. He wouldn't call them. I'm sorry. He would do a video text custom tailored to people on a Friday. So he literally stand up, he'd have his cell phone on a selfie stick, and he would be like, okay, he'd just go through the list and he'd be like, hey, Deb, it's me, Brian. And he was sending a video to his partners because his thing was, I'm your guy. He said, I'm your guy. And then those of you who are listening can't see it. Then he would tap on his chest. I'm your guy, and then he would point to him, and he would ultimately do this. But he would send out 100 to 200 video texts. It took him about an hour to do on Fridays, but he would send it to not just the people who were sending him business. He would send it to someone like you. So if he was stalking you, Deb, he'd be like, "Oh, hey Deb, it's me, Brian Manning. Hey, just want to let you know I'm working this weekend. I know you're going to be out at volleyball with your daughter, and you're going to be out playing baseball with the boys. But I just want you to know if you get a lead, I know I'm not your main guy, but if your guy's not there, hey, give me a call. I'm your guy." And then he would just hang up, send that video, boom, shoot the next one. He was just cranking out video. So we're taking a long time on this one, but this is a great opportunity. He just showed up consistently, and I think he's doing okay. Probably shouldn't say it. He just sold his Porsche and bought a McLaren. So I think I'm just saying he's got to be doing all right in this market. And I love Brian. It's on his social media. So I'm not calling out something that he just called me and told me personally, but I have a lot of respect for him. He's one of my past coaching clients, and he's really good at engaging in doing stuff like that. And that's the reason I think he's got such a successful business. The last thing I'll throw is he's also doing live quarterly topics, but he travels all over Colorado and does live real estate agent education. So they all know he's going to come quarterly to their part of the market. He's in Colorado, so he'll teach it in Boulder. He'll go to Denver and teach it in all the different areas. I think 3 different areas of Denver, because people don't want to drive too far. It's a big city. He'll go down to Colorado Springs and do it. And so again, it's what are you doing consistently? Because then my guess is he probably himself or maybe a team members calling all the people, reminding them, hey, Deb, I'm going to be back in North Denver next, in 2 weeks. Can I count on you to show up again at my event? So you have this ability to keep providing value to people. And as you keep providing value, eventually they're going to show up, whether they show up this month, this quarter, next quarter, or in a year, they're going to remember you. And then that's when you can follow up and they can go, gosh, I haven't sent Brian a transaction in a year. Maybe I should do that because he's still consistently doing the things that all these other loan officers aren't doing.
That's why I'm so passionate about events, whether it's live events or webinars, because it's not a matter of how many actually attend the webinar. And I know we get so fixated on that number, and then we are like, oh, I only had 2 people show up, so I'm not going to keep doing them. But it's the fact that you can call. It gives you a reason to follow up. It gives you something valuable to offer and to invite them to. And this could be for partners or for clients. So that may need to be part of your strategy.
Let's do a future 15-minute deep dive into how to put on an event, both live and virtual. We can pull out that playbook. I think that would be a lot of fun. I feel like we've done a lot on this one, and I think we could probably do a 2-hour conversation on it. But let's go to mistake number 3 that's costing people the most money.
That is exactly what I was going to say. Is the whole event and webinar leads us to number 3, which is the most costly mistake, and that is retention. And the reason why I bring up the event and the webinar item with retention is because if you have that follow-up plan, you have your acquisition strategy, then you have your follow-up plan to get the acquisition or the meeting or appointment. What do you do to then retain the partnership or client afterwards so that they're raving fans of yours and advocates of your service throughout their life, right? So the retention piece is the repeat and referral.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to think about it regardless of the business you're in. If you're an insurance agent, it's an annual insurance review. If you are a real estate agent, it's probably a quarterly value update or at least twice a year value update. Shoot, we'll have to put it in the notes, but you and I interviewed that guy from Florida. I forgot his name, who was doing the reviews for his clients. It was in season 1 of the Win Now podcast. If we were really good, we would Google it right now and pause and stick it in the middle, but we're not that good, but we'll put it below. And this guy was the guy who would do a annual review of value for his clients. And then he talked about how he created like some crazy amount of dollar volume by making sure that he continued to add value to him. He just recorded a video and sent it to his clients, and he didn't even follow up with them, which I thought was the funny part, but they followed up with him. He only followed up with the people who actually reached back out to him afterwards. But he made a ton of money doing value reports. And then obviously for your loan officers, it's annual mortgage reviews, even for your clients who have a 2.5% interest rate. Because guess what? Some of those people still go into debt. And in 2026, when we're recording this, Tom Ferry says the current number is 4% of the people in your database, 4% of the contacts in your phone are going to transact in real estate this year. And so again, if you're not staying top of mind with those people, they're just going to forget who you are. And I think that is super sad, because we all know that statistic that, 80 some odd percent or 90% of people say they would work with their real estate agent again, yet only about less than 20% do. And it's just because they're like, I can't remember that Todd guy's name afterwards. There's like, oh, that realtor was good, but I don't have a magnet. No one's got refrigerator magnets anymore. Maybe that's the thing we should bring back, the refrigerator magnet, but I got a stainless steel fridge. It wouldn't work anyway. Great opportunity. I think you're right in the follow-up.
Well, and the retention piece, that's where, again, the events, even for your mortgages under management, for those of you who are loan officers, it's like, I get that the sales cycle is getting a lot longer when it comes to people buying and selling, especially if they bought when rates were super low. But to your point, there are ways that they could better utilize their locked up equity that they just maybe don't even know about. Worse, a lot of them don't even know what their next transition plan is. So before you even close, like the number of people that we talk to that are like, oh, my Ideal client is first time home buyer. I'm like, great. When did you close on them? Okay, 2 months ago. So what was it in their world that would have to happen that they told you of how long they think they could possibly be in that home? Oh, I can't remember. I think it was like 5, 7 years. And it was like, okay, so do you have that in your CRM noted somewhere with a plan of how you're then going to follow up with that person? Because they said it was going to be about 5 to 7 years. And it really had me start thinking about this. It was one of the Phil Jones webinars that we were on that he was like, just zoom out. Like everyone is so focused on the 30, 60, 90-day transaction that we forget to zoom out. And like, how do you stack the pipeline by having that retention follow-up strategy, which then makes the acquisition part less important? Because if you just took care of the business that you already have and of the people that already trust you and they're trained to give you a referral once a quarter, once a year, whatever it is, then that's the multiplier. That's why that's the most amount of dollars that it could be costing you if you don't have an intentional plan to retain those who have already shown they know and trust you.
Yeah, I think you're right. The bottom line is that we're so focused on getting our next paycheck that we forget that our next paycheck actually could be from the person we served 3, 5, 7 years ago or longer. And I'm always impressed with the people that I know who have these tremendous databases of long-term people who know and love them. And I think it's just because they have added value to them for all these years. And so really just think through it. I think a couple of ideas that come to mind would be just a quarterly video update to your database on whatever market is you serve, right? What's going on with insurance rates from insurance salesmen? What's going on with taxes if I'm a CPA, what's going on with values in general, and then maybe dive down if you're a specialist in a particular sub market, and then obviously mortgage, what's going on in rates and overall trend in the market, and then make it valuable so that your clients will actually open it. Again, they're not going to want to weekly video your clients on interest rates because they're not thinking of moving right now potentially, but then you could send them that certainly once they get to that part in the process. So that's my thought on it. What else are we missing?
I would say your action or homework item would be, how would you then rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, of those 3 areas that most are making the mistakes that's costing them a lot of business? So again, that was acquisition, follow-up, and retention. Once you give yourself your rating, I want you to build the plan for this next quarter. So we just started Q3. So depending on when you're listening to this, take the first week and really start dialing in on your written plan. Do you have an SOP that says the frequency, the touch number? Do you have a 14 by 14 and then they go into long term? And make sure you have this for borrowers and for referral partners, and then remeasure it at the end of the quarter. So, but you got to start with the detailed plan that you can then execute before you start tweaking. And I'll just say, just don't overthink it. I was about to say mind F it today. That's probably not appropriate. Don't overthink it where it's that whole, sorry, Todd, analysis by paralysis because you want it to be perfect. Sometimes it's just using your win by noon planner. And as you talk to your 10 new people each day, you're writing down in your planner on the day of when you said you would follow up. But don't allow yourself to hang up until you already have that next follow up scheduled.
All right. I think that's critical, right? You have to have next follow-up, whether it's in your CRM or in a spreadsheet, like I said, I was running. I would say a couple of things. Number one is we'll have a link down below to our ideal week conversation. If you're struggling with your time, watch that. We'll figure out who that Florida realtor was. I mentioned we'll put that link down below if you're a real estate agent worth looking at. And if you're a loan officer worth looking at, because that's a great thing to refer your real estate agents to who are struggling to get back in the connection with their clients. So that I would encourage you to write out a plan for each of these 3 things that we talked about. How could you do it and have a physically written out plan that you can follow? And then after that, make sure that you share that, because if you're sharing specs with your or with your prospect partners, that's a unique value proposition for you and will differentiate you from everyone else. So super appreciate that you watch this. If you are one of the people who has listened through to the conclusion, thank you. But we would love it if you would just go one step further, make sure that you're subscribing to this channel. But more importantly, maybe share this. You've got a coworker, friend, or a partner that you're going after. What a great way to show a partner your commitment to learning by sharing them something that may benefit them as well. So we would appreciate that. Deborah, it is always a pleasure to hang out with you. Now remember, just don't do the thing and overmind F it, like Deborah said.
So now all you have to do is win now.